Parental Guidance Season 3, Episode 2 on Monday night. Big conversations around peer pressure and consent, and some things were said that need to be discussed today. Mark and Tammy are upfront parents. There were some big reactions in the room to a few things. That's what we're going to talk about today on the podcast. G'day and welcome. This is the Happy Families Podcast, real parenting solutions every day. Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. Mark and Tammy are our upfront parents in Season 3.
Upfront parenting is all about respect. Underpinning that is having realistic expectations.
They started off so well. We need to talk about what they started off with and then the unexpected turn.
You sent a naked photo online.
Block them. That's weird. Block them and delete them. Notify the police.
The thing at the moment that we're noticing is the girls' shorts have gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. I'm saying to our boys, don't come home with the girls with the short shorts. I don't want to be friends with the mother-in-law. Do you let somebody take a naked photo of you? No. So all of this can go away if you don't allow somebody to take a naked photo of you.
I know that you want to focus on the nudes.
Yeah, well, we need to. Can we say that a different way? That just makes me feel uncomfortable the way that you said that.
I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant.
No, I know. Oh, we should also highlight today's conversation may be for mature audiences. If you've got young kids listening, we are going to be talking about some of these topics and they are not necessarily for younger ears. Okay, disclaimer out of the way.
Should I say, I know you want to have the conversation around consent and sending nudes.
Okay, that's a much better way to say it. Thank you. I feel way better
But
now.
we have to talk about Tammy's comment around short shorts and the mother-in-law.
Okay, we're going to do that second. Let's talk about the nude stuff first, and the safe sexting, or whether or not you can send anything via text message and not have negative ramifications. That's where we need to start.
So my question for you is, how prevalent is this? Like, how many girls are actually sending nudes?
Okay, so the short answer is we don't know. There's a couple of different organisations, both here and overseas, that have been doing some research on this. Depending on who you ask and how you ask it, you get numbers anywhere between 10% and like 47 to 50-ish%, which, I mean, there's an enormous amount of variation there. It depends on I'm going to get technical for a sec. Depends on the sampling methodology, who's answering the questions, why they're answering it, and what the questions are. So I think the most important thing to highlight is that it is happening. That is, it is now considered in many areas a normal part of dating and social development that kids will at some point, teenagers will at some point send images of themselves that could be concerning if they are viewed by somebody other than the intended recipient, or that could be concerning if the relationship breaks down, which in a huge majority of cases it will, because they're teenagers and this stuff happens.
So I find this really curious because growing up, we obviously didn't grow up with mobile phones. And I remember vividly probably being about 10 and catching up with the neighbourhood kids, and one of the neighbourhood boys and I were downstairs in his garage and he was like, I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Right.
That kind of conversation, right? But
this is the same thing. It's just on technology.
Yeah, but what I was about to say is that is the one and only time that I ever had that conversation with someone at a time where I would suggest developmentally curious and appropriate. But it never happened once in my dating life. Did anyone ever ask to see me naked?
Yep.
Like, how has it become so normalised because it's a digital image when it would never in the past have been asked for the majority of us to share such explicit content in real life?
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Partly this comes down to the pornification of our world. So I would say that since the 70s, but especially since the rise of the internet, and this is a really provocative thing to say, but there's quite a bit of evidence to support this. The pornography industry is responsible for a huge amount of the technological advancements that have occurred in terms of the internet. In fact, there is a quote that I'm using in my upcoming book about raising boys. I can't remember who said it now. I wasn't expecting us to go down this path, but this person basically said the internet was made for pornography. And so when you've got all these kids who are seeing this stuff, and then you take away inhibitions, you've got this sense that because there's a screen and we're not in one another's space, people are a lot less inhibited in terms of what they say. The flirting gets hotter and hotter. You feel like you're in the privacy of your bedroom. You feel like it's only you and that other person. And so it has, your word here is centrally important. It has become normalised. A huge percentage of kids think that it is appropriate to ask for, solicit nude images from somebody else. And overwhelmingly, and now girls do ask for boys to send things through, but not very often in comparison. Again, little bit of research. I don't think that all the data we've got is trustworthy at all, but the research is pretty clear that it's the guys who are doing the asking, not the girls. Girls aren't that interested in guys' junk. Guys,
I was about to say that.
they're pretty fascinating. Pretty fascinated by what's going on with girls. And boys have always been seen as the accelerator rather than the brake. That's the way it's always been from a sexual point of view.
So I guess if we wanted to get really practical for a minute, what's the communication look like leading up to a photo like this being shared?
This is a really hard thing to talk about, and I'm really disappointed by it. So I've spoken to some girls and some guys who have admitted the same, that sometimes their first interaction online will be, hey, will you send me a photo? Like there's this instant push. There's almost like an expectation. And if you won't, then I'm not interested in you. I did speak to one teenage girl a number of years ago when I was writing my book about raising teen girls. She said that she was with some friends in the mall or in the shops or whatever you want to call it, and another group of friends came over. There was one person in each group that knew each other, but all of a sudden you've gone from 4 or 5 kids to about 10 or 12 kids who are all suddenly getting to know each other. This girl swapped Instagram details with one of the guys who was chatty and seemed like a nice guy, and then she got a text message from Dad, hey, I'm here at the shops, I'm ready to pick you up, let's go. By the time she'd gotten in the car, she got a ping from this guy on Instagram, and literally the first thing he wanted to know was, will you send me a hot pic? Like they'd known each other for about 10 minutes, talked for about 3 minutes, and he was soliciting. So is that normal? I don't think so. I actually don't think so, but it is an example of what can happen in many situations. In terms of the general communication leading up to a photo like this being shared, if it's part of a positive relationship, that is, a couple are in a consenting, happy, no peer pressure kind of relationship, then they start to flirt with each other, and over hopefully an extended period of time, this becomes part of their dating and courtship behavior. I'm really concerned about it. I don't think it's safe behavior at all. I would well, we do actively, completely in every way discourage our children from it. I just think that it's crazy. I think it's crazy behavior that you would send an image like that to somebody that you're not in a guaranteed safe, committed relationship to. But we can talk about that more. But what also happens, and too many girls have told me stories like this, is that they'll get a seemingly safe conversation starter with somebody that they know, somebody that they think that they trust, and over a period of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, 2.5 hours, the conversation will become increasingly sexually focused, and then he'll start to solicit and say, hey, what are you wearing? What's underneath it? What can you send me? That kind of stuff. These conversations are happening way more than parents want to believe. And if we are not having conversations about consent and about peer pressure, especially across gender peer pressure or between gender peer pressure, then our children, especially our daughters, could be at risk.
You had that conversation with Dan on this episode about this whole thing, and you asked him this question.
Our kids are feeling the peer pressure to sext. Dan, what is it with sexting?
This just become normalised. It's quite extraordinary how many young people are aware of sexting and nudes. And again, late primary into year 7, like this is when this is rife and starts happening a lot. Boys know there's more pressure on girls to share nudes, and there's more shame when they do.
Is there such a thing as safe sexting, in your opinion?
I don't believe there is. I think we do have to hold the line on that for the safety of everybody.
Do you agree with Dan on this?
Any other thoughts?
Let's play back what Courtney said.
I would never blame a girl for having her photo shared. I have had a naked photo of me leaked before. I've been in that circumstance before. I thought I could trust someone. I have told our boys a lot about my past, including that event. I have told them how I feel and why you shouldn't be doing that to women.
So here we have a situation where we've got a mum on the show who's saying, I shared some images with somebody in a trusting relationship and those images got out. That person was not trustworthy. And what a steep price to pay. What a really steep price to pay. So in answer to your question, I just think this is a really, really I don't think there's such a thing as safe sexting. Dan Principe is absolutely right here. When you send an image, you lose control of what happens to that image. Full stop, end of story. Once it's on somebody else's device, it could be hacked, it could be shared, it could be shown to somebody else, it could be screenshotted. There is no such thing as safe sexting, and I really believe that conversation needs to happen with our kids. We're going to be back after the break to talk about that second big issue, courtesy of Tammy.
Don't come home with the girls with the short shorts.
Okay, Kylie, there was a really big bomb that was dropped, I guess, by our upfront parents, Mark and Tammy. Tammy said something about short shorts that got everybody hot under the collar.
What was the short shorts thing? What was that?
Here you go.
I'm not judging the girl with the short shorts. I'm judging the girl's mum.
You were very judgmental there, and because you have all boys as well.
I think girls should be able to wear whatever they want. I really do, but I do think that there's an age as well where it's appropriate. A 12-year-old in a G-string on a beach makes it very difficult for my husband to walk down comfortably.
So women need to dress appropriately so that Nathan feels comfortable.
Like, how do you feel about that?
I'm not really thinking, is my husband looking at that? I just don't think that we should be putting down women.
We're not.
Can we also notice the theme in all of this, that we've turned the focus to the girls?
There's always concern for me that it can suggest that someone had it coming to them, or that's a type of person that we shouldn't respect as much as someone fully clothed, right? I think we have to address that it shouldn't change how we relate to the respect and decency and care that person is owed.
I want to say ouch. In today's day and age.
I love this TV show. I love this show.
I don't know if Tammy really thought through her comments or whether or not the fact that they are upfront about everything.
Yeah, Tammy's pretty upfront.
She just let it all out.
So I want to come to Tammy's defense for just a moment, and I want to do it very carefully and delicately. Tammy is not alone in holding and saying beliefs along these lines. And I really want to...
Well, it might not be short shorts. Maybe it's tattoos. Maybe it's multiple earrings. Like, most people have a value system that they're working from.
That's exactly the point that I was going to make.
Governs the choices that they make.
And the judgments that they make of other people.
Yes.
And so let's just highlight a couple of things that matter. Your values... You have every right to defend them. You have every right to share them, as Tammy did.
And live them.
And to live them, and to have healthy and appropriate expectations around that. Now, one of the main reasons that people get upset about these kinds of comments, and we saw it with this as well.
A 12-year-old in a G-string on a beach makes it very difficult for my husband to walk down comfortably.
One of the issues that we have with these kinds of scenarios is that if something harmful happens to somebody, usually a female, then we step into a victim blaming scenario. So I just want to step away from the harm situation. And I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm going to throw myself into the hot water with everybody else. But this conversation comes up all the time, like what's appropriate to wear when you're at the water park with the kids. Okay, so you're in the kiddies area. You're not at a water park for adults. You're in a kids' water park. What's appropriate to wear and what's not? Or what's appropriate to wear at the beach and what's not? What are our public decency standards? And every now and again, a middle-aged man or a boomer bloke will say, I don't feel like I'm comfortable walking down the beach because all I can see is backsides and boobs everywhere. And what that person's really expressing is, I have certain values and expectations around what people will wear in public, and this is inconsistent with my values. They say it clumsily. They say it in a way that throws shade and a whole lot more at the people who they are disapproving of, and it does turn into a massive culture war. Here's my take on this. You can wear whatever you want, but we don't live in a perfect world. And because people do have different values and different standards, there are going to be some people who will say things that you might consider to be inconsiderate and they think are completely justified and appropriate.
You don't get to choose other people's responses to our actions or to how we choose to live our lives. Like we don't actually get a choice.
In terms of their values, now here's what I will say, and this is where it gets into the harm that's done. What you're wearing and where you are and what you're doing has no impact whatsoever on whether or not somebody is going to choose to do the wrong thing. That is, people who commit assaults, people who do the wrong thing, the blame is on them. So if you are wearing next to nothing, or if you are wearing full winter gear and trench coats, unfortunately, there are bad actors in this world who will stare at you and who will even assault you. And by the same token, when you and I were talking about this earlier, you made a really important point that's worth highlighting.
There are plenty of men out there who get themselves in a position where both of you are naked and you want to go further and the woman says no. Like in that instance.
And there are plenty of guys who will say, okay.
A respectful man who says, okay, this is really hard, but okay.
Yeah. The break has been applied. You're not cool with where we are. We're going to...
So it has nothing to do with what you're wearing and everything to do with that person's heart and the condition of it.
So this is the consent conversation, and I think we need to disentangle the consent conversation from what Tammy has said. When it comes to the clothes that you wear, I think that it's appropriate to teach our children to be considerate of the context. And in certain contexts, some clothing is far more acceptable or perhaps a little less acceptable than in other contexts. Now, if you want to go and not worry about being considerate about what others think and you just want to do you want to wear what you want to wear, then that's totally your call.
But you also can't be surprised that you're going to ruffle feathers along the way.
My point exactly. Is it right? I'm not going to get involved in that. People have their values. People have their standards. We live in a world that is not perfect. And
it's not utopia.
Yeah, thank you very much. So was Tammy right to say what she said? Well, these are her values and she has every right to them. And there are many, many people who will agree with her, and I think that she should be supported for that. And if that's the way that she feels, then more power to her. And if Nathan and Joanne would really prefer that Nathan isn't exposed to butts and boobs as he walks along the esplanade, then they have every right to feel that way. But if somebody walks past, I don't think that it's appropriate that they start passing judgment, making noises and telling people to cover up, which they're not, by the way. Just in their defense, they're not doing that.
I think ultimately each of us have our own set of standards, our own set of values that we want to live our lives, but we can't expect that other people are going to uphold those standards and values. That's our responsibility because they're ours.
Yeah.
We own them and we make choices about how we choose to live that. So if I feel uncomfortable walking down to the beach because there is so much exposed skin that leaves me feeling uncomfortable, then I actually have to rethink about whether or not that's where I want to spend my time.
Yeah, or find a different beach. Right, like if everybody at that beach dresses like that, but maybe we live on the Sunshine Coast. There are some beaches where there's nobody on the beach. You and I could go for a 20-minute walk and almost see nobody. And then there are other beaches where you are guaranteed to see a whole lot of flesh. It's just that's where the population is and that's where people go and that's what they wear. So consider the context, but also consider your own decisions.
Yeah.
Like there's a level of personal responsibility here. The take-home message from this really, getting back to consent, is don't assault people. right? Like, listen to what people say. No, if someone says no, then they mean no. And there's no
That
such,
can't be the take home.
okay, and there's no such thing as safe sexting. There's just not. Oh, there's so many stories about women who go for a jog and they're assaulted, and it's like, no, the guy is in the wrong. That woman should be allowed to run at 5 a.m. or 7 p.m, and she should be safe.
Yeah.
It's just not okay that we have men who don't get it, or the wolf whistle, or the cat call, or whatever. Just, guys, stop it. I don't know. I don't know why this is so hard. Stop it. It's not okay. Be a good person. Be a bonus. Add value to the lives of people. Stop. Just stop this appalling behavior. I think it was a great episode. I think it was a great show on Monday night. We're back on Monday again, 7:30, 9 and 9 now, with this.
Next time, 4 new parenting styles are having the hard conversations Australia needs to have about body image.
Fillers and Botox is the norm these days.
We confront a generation's worrying obsession.
At school, there used to be writing on the walls about mummy's legs.
This is, for me, an area that requires immediate intervention.
And we arm parents with the tools to navigate their way through.
Go, guys.
I honestly think you look pretty good for your age.
If I want my children to believe that they are perfect, then I need to reflect that in my behaviour.
Cannot wait for Monday night. Oh, gosh, I love this show. I love this show so much. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer during the Parental Guidance weeks, and we have additional support from Mim Hammonds. If you would like more information and resources to make your family happier, please visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.